Oh, hello. And due to viewer request, today we're going to do an overview of the Tomb World, aka the Compendium Necron kill team. Now, Necrons were actually my first ever 40k army, back when I was small, when they were metal, in the very dying days of 2nd edition Warhammer 40,000. Necrons were the first thing I collected. I don't have that army anymore, or there'd be pictures of them on the screen, but I sold them a long time ago. I may even whisper it, throw them in the bin, I think. Decisions that you regret, you know. But Necrons, I have a soft spot for them, but this will be the first kill team review that I've done where it's not really a team that I would recommend anyone plays in their current form. Let's see why. So, the Tomb World kill team, it's 9 or 10 models. No, that's wrong. It's 9, 10, or 8 models, isn't it? Yeah, 9, 10, or 8 models, depending on your choices. Which is it? You know, it's not more than 10, so it's towards being an elite team in terms of numbers. The only way you're getting 10, as we'll see, is by taking sub-optimal choices, in my opinion. So if you take warriors and flayed ones, or double flayed ones, you're going to get 10 models. If you take warriors and immortals, or warriors and death marks, you're going to get 9 models. And if you double up on immortals or death marks, you're going to get 8 models. Pay attention to where security is. So only the Necron warriors or the immortals have security. I still think security is broken. I really, as I've said before in previous videos, I really hope that it's by design that security is a better deck, and that the developers are using that as a balance thing. Like, well, we're going to give this team access to security to balance out the fact that they're a little bit weaker in another way. I hope that's the case. You can only take one fire team of warriors, because you can't have warrior leaders. Just like the tabletop game, there's no sort of sergeant in a warrior squad, so you can only ever have the one squad of warriors. Okay, let's look at the fire teams one by one then. So this is the warrior fire team, which consists of 5 Necron warriors. So there's only one datasheet in the fire team. And these are, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Like all Necrons, these have a move of 2 circle. So if you've never played Necrons or Plague Marines, you could be forgiven for thinking that, like defense, movement was just one of those things where everybody had a move of 3 circle. Necrons are stuck with a move of 2 circle. Everyone in the team has a move of 2 circle, and it's bad. 2 APL, group activation 1, standard 3 defense, a 4-up save, 9 wounds, and they can have Ghost Flares, which is a bolter, or you can trade your bolter for a Ghost Reaper, where you get an extra point of damage on the crit, and you get AP 1 on the crit. You got piercing 1 there, but you're stuck with a range of red, which is particularly difficult, isn't it, when you've got a move of 2 circles? So you're going to struggle to shoot them in turning point 1. You're probably going to struggle to shoot them in turning point 2. So all in all, if I was going for warriors, I'd probably want to take the Ghost Flayers. They do have, all Necrons have this really rather nice special wound. In the ready operative step of each turning point, you regain 2 lost wounds, or up to 2 lost wounds. That's nice. So wounds 9, effectively you're going to think that they have wounds 11 a lot of the time, because, you know, it makes them really hard to chip down. Obviously in combat it's not going to have much of an effect, because you're going to kill them, but from shooting you're not going to chip them down as easily. That's quite nice. It makes them quite robust, although these do only have a 4-up save. Yeah, they're just not, they're not great, are they? They're a bit interesting. I really like, I'll talk more about this at the end, but I really like kind of undead in Age of Sigmar. I've got a massive death army, and I kind of like that they tried to make Necrons space undead and give them that kind of, oh, they're a horde and they're hard to kill, but they're really slow and shambly. But it's a bit wide of the mark for me in terms of how they actually perform on a tabletop. So yeah, Necron warriors are okay. You get 5 of them though, which is nice. Immortals. Now, Immortals are really good, actually. Immortals are really good. So an Immortal fire team, you only get 4, so you lose a body over the Warriors. But you get to choose between the Ghost Blaster and the Tesla Carbine. So the Ghost Blaster, 4 shots hitting on 3s, damage 4/5, AP1. So you're always AP1. It's not a crit rule. You're always AP1, and you've got better damage. You know, you got damage 5 on the crit, 4 regularly. So you've got an extra point of damage across the board. Or you can take the Tesla Carbine, where you lose the AP1 and trade it for Splash. I think you're building both. I think you're rostering them. And if you're facing against someone like the Veteran Guardsman, you're going to trade in for your couple of your Tesla Carbines to take advantage of that Splash. But if you're fighting against something more elite than that, you're going to stick with the Blasters. You know, you've got your 3-up save, which is good. You back up to 10 wounds. You've still got the really good living metal rule. Defense of 3 standard, APL 2 standard. You can take a leader, you can make one your leader. The leader gains an extra wound and an extra point of BS and weapon skill. I think that what you do if you want to play Necrons, Compendium Necrons, is you take 8 Immortals. And maybe you roster them so you've got some Tesla Carbines that you can swap in. But like the Ghost Blaster is really good, and you still only got a move of 2, and it's still going to be a struggle to get up the board and get your objectives. It's not a super strong team. I mean, it's a shooting team, and then compare them to, like, you know, the bespoke tower team, right? But yeah, I think 8 Immortals is pretty good. It'd be a good especially if you've got someone who wants to get into kill team and they really love Necrons as an aesthetic, something you can get them to pick up. You can buy a box of Immortals. I think 1 box. Do you get 10 in a box? Maybe you only get 5 in a box, but 1 or 2 boxes of Immortals, depending on what the score is. And you've got if it's 10, you get 10 that way, and then you can build 8 with. I'd build 8 with the Blasters. I'd build 2 with the Tesla Carbines to have as kind of a sideboard, and I will get on my way with that. And and then use some paint to mark out which one is your leader, and then on you go. I think that's a reasonable starter kill team for learning the game if somebody really likes metal skeletons, but it's not gonna light the meta on fire. Let's look at the other fire teams. Flayed ones, it has a move of 2 circle and it doesn't have any ranged weapons. I'm really not sure. I've written on the slide I'm missing something. Let me know in the comments. I know there's a ploy coming later on. I don't think the ploy makes up for the fact that they've got a move of 2 and no ranged weapons. I don't. Yeah, and bear in mind that taking these in your team is the only way to get to 10 models. So if you agree with me that these are horrible and you should never take them, which is basically where I'm at with Flayed ones, then you're never getting 10 models. You're at best a 9 model team if you take Warriors, or if you double up on Immortals, which I guess is what I'd recommend, you're going to be an 8 model team, which makes you pretty elite. 8 Immortals versus Harlequins. How's that going to go for you? So I think it's a struggle. But certainly I wouldn't recommend Flayed ones, which I think is probably for the best, because I've heard a lot of I don't know off the top of my head, but I've heard a lot of people saying that Flayed ones are really, really expensive for what they are. And yeah, unless there's something, maybe if you've played these, right, and if you've had success with them, and you think that I'm being too negative and too unfair, then write it in the comments. And this is why, with absolutely no offence meant to the gentleman who requested I do the video, this is why I've done the teams so far that I've done these reviews for, because they're the ones that I feel positive about. It's hard for me to feel positive. I'm a positive person. I want to be positive. I'm going to get hate mail from Zimbad, who every time I say something negative in a video, I'll see him the next day and he'll be like, well, why are you being negative? You're wrong and these are the ways. But honestly, I'd love to be shown I'm wrong. Put it in the comments, but I don't understand what Games Workshop was thinking with this particular sheet. It doesn't make sense. Moving on. Death marks. Why Necrons don't your snipers have silence? They don't. So they're snipers in the fluff, right? They're like sniper assassins, and they have really cool fluff. I think death marks are really, really cool in the fluff. They're like these silent assassins that teleport in, that have their target, and they don't have the kind of bog standard sniper rule of being able to shoot from concealment. You get 4 of them, so you get to compare them to the Blaster Immortals, basically, because they're very comparable. So Blaster Immortals, over Blaster Immortals, you gain a point of your. So Blaster Immortals are crit damage 5, Deathmarks are crit damage 4, but with 1 mortal wound. So you convert 1 of your crit damage into a mortal wound, and you gain an extra point of ballistic skills hitting on 2s rather than 3s. But to balance that, you gain heavy in a team with 2 circle movement. And so the fact that the Immortals can be trundling towards an objective, right? Trundling towards the middle of the board, trundling towards that hold the middle, or take that piece of heavy terrain, or whatever it is you need to do. Whereas your death marks are kind of stuck in your deployment zone, or if they move, they can't shoot. Like, again, I come back to, why are we not just taking 2 sets of Immortals, other than the fact that it seems boring just to take 8 guys that are the same when you've been given all these options to have variety. I don't see what they give you. They're not as bad as the Flayed ones. Like, I think the Flayed ones are just ghastly. Like, I really can't understand what the person was thinking when they wrote that rules. These are fine, right? I can understand the trade-off. I just don't think personally that the trade-off is worth it. But yeah, they are better at shooting than Blaster Immortals in exchange for being heavy. So it's a slightly better gun, but they're slightly less flexible. Okay, fine. Let's look at the equipment. So they have some good equipment. I think Devour Nano Scarabs are basically a grenade. Like, you read it and you're like, what's going on here? And then you're like, oh yeah, okay. Lethal 5 up, that's pretty cool. Indirect, limited, it's a grenade. It's a grenade that does 3/4 damage. It's on a 3/4 dice. It's powerful. You only have a move of 2, but I suppose you're only going to get to use your grenade in 1 turn anyway. And so probably you're going to get up close enough to someone to use a ranged red. It's probably in turning point 3 or turning point 4. So if you want to take the grenade, take the grenade. If you like grenades, some people rave about grenades. They really do come in some games with that indirect. That's nice. But it doesn't have any kind of blast. So, it's one person that you're getting to throw a grenade at who's behind a hill. Lethal 5 up's kind of cool, but it's still only going to do 4 damage. Sempiternal Weave. Give your leader a 2-up save. Yeah, I'll do that. Make sure you've got some paint solution on there so you can tell who your leader is, right? And you get a 2-up save. That's good. I don't know if it's worth 3 equipment points, but it's gonna come in, right? It's your best model on the table, and now it's harder for your opponent to kill. Starfire Core. You can upgrade your Flayers, Reapers, or Blasters, so you can upgrade already a really good weapon, so that when you crit, you can retain a miss as a successful normal hit. I'm not an absolute whiz at statistics. I should be better than I am, considering how many years I've been playing dice games. But you're rolling your 4 dice, and for this to be useful, you need to roll your 4 dice and get a 6 and at least one or a 2 in the same roll of the dice for it to do anything. Yeah, it's fine. It will be nice if it was just something a bit better, like reroll 1s for 2 EP. Yeah, it's a bit of a hobby hero point, but I just worry that if you're taking this 2 or 3 times, because to be fair, you've not got a lot to spend your equipment points on, how are you going to remember which of your... I guess if you only take 4 Immortals, say, and then you say, right, well, I'm giving them all Starfire Core, or you only have so many Immortals with... you give it all the things that are identically equipped, then no problem. But if you are running, as I would be tempted to, 8 Immortals with blasters, then keeping track of the fact that you've got this thing on 4 or 5 of them and not the others is a little irritating. I know that shouldn't be a huge factor in a tactical analysis, but the real world with its real world concerns exists. So yeah, it's not bad. Maybe it's a little overcosted for what it is, but it's not awful. Tesla Weave is a similar thing, so this is upgrading the no, blow me down. It's not nothing to do with that. It's just it gives you an ability. If an enemy operative finishes a charge within engagement range of the operative, roll 3d6. If every result of 5, the enemy suffers a mortal wound. Yeah, you're gonna throw out some mortal wounds. If someone has charged you, putting probably a mortal wound on them probably isn't going to alter the outcome of that charge. It might, though. You might roll really well and do 3 mortals to them, and then be able to kill them with your... So they hit you, and then you hit them, and then they die. So it might just... And you are probably going to get charged because you are slow. But at the same time... How you remember who has it is always a question. Balance loom bands on the model, I guess. Yeah, it's fine. It's just a bit situational, and your opponent will know who has the Tesla Weave, and they can kind of play around it a bit. So, meh. Mind Shackle's funny. You always can worry when I describe Wargear as funny. So it's funny because you can basically take control of an enemy, which could be really powerful if you know it's a really powerful character. But it has to be an enemy that's within blue and visible to you. And then you can shoot with their gun. So, yeah, that could be really cool. Really funny to use, but situational. And then Hyperphase Blade, if you want to have a better close combat weapon on what should predominantly be a shooting army, then you can do that. I'm sounding really, really, really irritated and negative, and it's just because I'm trying to find the positive thing to say, and my brain's working overtime. I'm taking this Epiternal Weave because it's gonna work. It's gonna do something for me. Like probably 2 or 3 times in the game, it's gonna do something for me because my leader's gonna be shot at. The others, all of them, I wonder. I guess I'm taking Starfire Cores and worrying about how I represent that on the miniature later. Okay, yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing. Cool. I guess if I know that I'm always going to want to take Starfire Cores, then I can paint the guns of, you know, 3 or so of my miniatures a bit differently and go, the ones with a bit of red on their gun or whatever have the Starfire Core. Yep. And that's probably how I'm spending my equipment points. Yeah, so in my mind, I've now got 8 fellows with Gauss blasters. Right, my leader's got the Sepiternal Weave, so he's got his 2-up save. Yeah, and then I've got 3 of my guys have got the Starfire Core, possibly the leader as well. Why not? Because he's got a better BS. No, in fact, not the leader, because he's got a better BS. So I'll put on 3 regular guys. Yeah, it's fine. You do quite well with that. It'd be a good starter team. I just don't. It's not. It doesn't excite me, you know. Ploys. Ploys. So the Necrons do a thing which a lot of the teams have in common, where they have a lot of things in their ploys that feel like you really need them to make the team work. But then you've only got your 3 CP plus 1 a turn, and you just don't have enough CP to do all the things that you want to do. But as we've seen from a lot of the White Dwarf teams, there's a really common trend of things which are in the ploys getting pulled out of the ploys and becoming part of the team's mechanic in another way that's not gated behind that resource. So we're going to go down to the bottom first of all, to the real meat of this, which is reanimation protocols. So reanimation protocols take some discussion, right? Reanimation protocols. When one of your operatives is incapacitated, if you have the command point, you pay the command point, and then before you remove him, you can put a little token under his base. Okay, leave the order token next to that token that you've placed. And then in the next turning point, before you put your wounds back on for living metal, you roll a d6 for each of your reanimation tokens. On a 3 or on a 2 if it was a dead Necron warrior, you can put the operative back. Right? He has D3 wounds remaining, but then he gains another 2 because it's before you do your living metal ability, so you're about to do your living metal ability, so in effect he has D3 plus 2 wounds. He has the order he was on before, and that's really good. And that coming back on a 2-up is maybe the reason that you consider taking Necron Warriors, because then maybe what you can do is things like not really care if your warriors get shot. So maybe you use them to lure people, like you put a warrior out in the open and shoot at somebody with him with his bolter, and then he gets shot in return, and the enemy thinks, oh well, I've killed your guy and you've only wounded my guy, but then you've pulled somebody out to shoot him, and then you get to shoot that person, and you then bring the warrior back, and it just lets you be kind of cavalier with your warriors. On the other hand, it's a 3-up to bring back an Immortal, so that's still quite likely. You know, it's good though. Reanimation of course is great. I wouldn't be surprised if you spent quite a lot of your command points on reanimation protocols. The next one that I really want to talk about is up here, Implacable March. Okay, so this is good because it gets rid of a key weakness. Right, it gives you your extra circle of movement back for a command point. But yeah, so are you just turning that on every turn and having one less command point? Then you can only reanimation protocols twice in the whole game. Yeah. Until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly 2-mode operative is activated after determining its order, if it's on engage, it can perform an Implacable March. So if you're on engage, you can move like a normal person, except that you can't fall back or dash. Right, but you've only got 2 APL, so being able to move like a normal person or charge like a normal person and then fight or move and then shoot is... But it's just the fact that you have to spend that every turn to buy off your disadvantage, and then you can't really reanimate as much as you want, even though you might think reanimation was their thing. Cool. And then if you make your peace with the fact that you're going to use Implacable March every turn, then maybe you go back and you reassess some of the things I said, oh well, you don't want this because it only has a range of red, and you think, well, maybe I'll use that, maybe I'll do this other thing, maybe I'll take some Flayed ones, maybe they're not awful. And then you can spam away more of your CP to make your Flayed ones behave like Commandos can just behave every day of the week, right? So they can charge out of conceal, which is pretty good. Commandos can do it just for free all the time, and it's kind of their gimmick, but you can spend a CP to let your Flayed ones do that, which is fine. But then you've got even fewer command points to spend on reanimation protocols, so you really have to make some really difficult choices, and it just feels like you are starved for these command points to let your team do the kind of cool thematic things that it wants to do. You can also buy off the fact that your death marks don't have silent on their guns, but again, that's going to cost you a command point, right? So everyone else gets to have silent on their sniper rifles. The death marks can be silent, choose engage, shoot, and then spend a command point to go back to silent. Again, would they be broken if they had silent? Would that make them unbalanced? I don't know. I don't think so. Right, and then let's look at some of the others that are a bit more kind of niche. So Relentless Onslaught. Each time a friendly 2-mode operative makes a shooting attack, in the roll attack dice step of the shooting attack, if you're within red, you can reroll an attack dice. See all my other comments about how you're less likely than everybody else to get within red, unless you're spending for Implacable March every turn, but then, yeah. Living Lightning. Use this tactical ploy in the roll attack dice step of a shooting attack when one or more critical hits are retained for a shooting attack made with a Tesla carbine that a friendly Immortal operative is selected with. Select one of the following for the shooting attack. Treat the weapon splash 1 critical hit ruled as splash 2. Treat the distance for the weapon splash 1 as square instead of circle. Like, that's really good. That's really good. It makes you want to reassess taking like maybe 4 or more Immortals with the Tesla guns, right? But again, you're a team that's really starved for CP, so you have to decide, what are you doing? Are you you're probably not doing Implacable March every turn because you're going to need your CP. So you're kind of playing around that disadvantage. You're probably not getting to reanimate as much as you'd like because you want to keep some back so you can do Living Lightning. Right? On the one hand, right, choice is good. And having to make hard choices and spend your resource and not just have all of everything you want all the time is good. It's good game design. But on the other hand, when you just look at where Necrons are relative to the power level of other kill teams that don't have to make those hard, like when you are out of resource, they are no longer particularly fun to play, right? And the resources are very limited, and when you can use them, it's good. They should be left with something that makes them interesting, right? But they're going to be 8 or 9 or 10 AP2 models that only have 2 circle move, and okay, if you only have 8, you have quite a Ghostbuster's quite a good gun, but it just doesn't quite get there for me. Gosh. Final thoughts. Yeah, as I've just said, almost there, but not quite. I really want Necrons to be good. It's something where I'm really looking forward to their White Dwarf team. I really think that they could, if they just tweak the power level up a little bit, if they give them a bit more access to Resurrection, if they maybe, I would love to see them riff on the space undead vibe even more. I would like, you know how the White Dwarf Genestealer cultists can take 2 characters. I would love it if Necrons could take 1 character. They could take probably a Cryptek, right? Just one to lead the group, and it would be like the Necromancer or the Vampire in classic, undead armies, and it would be a really powerful leader who would buff everybody around him, and then if your leader dies, you're basically utterly you're in massive trouble if your leader dies, because that's thematically how undead used to play. It's kind of to an extent how they still play, right? Really powerful force multiplying leaders, but if that one character dies, then everything and then you tie the resurrection mechanic to that leader in some way. If I played Necrons or had played them in the last 2 editions of 40k, I would have a better idea of if that was the sort. I think Cryptics do buffs like that, right? I don't know if they do enhanced resurrection stuff in 40k, but I have a feeling that that's the kind of thing they do. So I have a feeling that's the kind of thing that they could do, and I'll be watching with interest for a White Dwarf release for Necrons, because after all, I've got a lot of Necron models from the 2 copies of Indomitus that we bought when that came out, because we both love Space Marines. We got a lot of Necrons floating around, and more Necrons from Fireteam. Check out my Fireteam review if you haven't already. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not as positive as I usually am with these overviews, but that's because I've been cherry-picking the ones I feel positive about. If you're positive about Compendium Necrons and you can see a path for them to do useful and good things, then leave me some comments down below and go, you've totally missed them, and I will gladly eat humble pie. But that's really my thoughts on the team. If you've liked the video, then please click like. If you want to see more videos and you're not subscribed, especially if this is like the 2nd or 3rd of my videos that you've watched, just pressing the subscribe button really helps me out. It really helps out small channels to get to a sort of critical number of subscribers. So if you are watching the videos, then please consider that. There is an Element Games link you can click on to buy things. Last video I mentioned something about another link. That's not sorted out yet, but I will let you know when it is. And there's a Discord as well. Feel free to find the Discord link and join the Discord. It's still small, but it's reasonably active. There are 2 or 3 messages every day, so have a think about joining the Discord as well. Thanks everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day, whatever it is that you're doing, and cheerio everybody.